of the land. You ain't getting only 2 million. You see that? Someone has 20 acres of land. You ain't getting 5 million, which is wrong.
But their assertions are refuted by a local investor and a partner in the project.
Sincerely speaking, that land belongs to the district with a title deed. It was an agriculture farm. Those people in other parts, you would call them squatters, but they are not squatters because they are our people who have even compensated. We have spent more than 500 million just thanking them for, they've been farming there.
Stakeholders involved in the establishment of the cement plant have promised to explore and promote the growth of complementary livelihoods for the good of the host community. For quite some time, the locals in Karamoja have complained about minerals being extracted in their area and taken elsewhere for processing. But that is about to change with the construction of a cement factory on a 221-acre land situated right behind me. Dennis Igoa for UBC News in Moroto.
Government has urged members of the public to be hopeful and cheerful because the EV Kayola buses are made and manufactured in Uganda. And this is one of the strides made by the sector of science and technology aimed at helping Ugandans to build confidence in their nation and scientists.
The Ministry of Science and Technology, in partnership with companies that manufacture electronic motorbikes and Kayola buses for Kiram Motors in Uganda, have paraded vehicles at Kololo Independence Grounds to showcase what science and technology has done. The electronic products are meant to end the problem of pollution in Kampala city.
We have many vehicles. We have 2 companies manufacturing electric motorbikes. This is good for our environment. The pollution in Kampala is soon coming to an end as we begin to get rid of the heavy polluting vehicles with vehicles, environmentally friendly vehicles made in Uganda. Kayola bus, and we have the Kayola bus, and we are also showcasing the transport system through the Tondeka system, which is going to help to sort out the issues of traffic and congestion in Kampala.
These electronic buses, together with motorbikes, have been driven through Kampala city in what was termed as a mobility drive to help Ugandans build confidence in their scientists.
And I want to just help tell all Ugandans to be hopeful, to be cheerful. These are vehicles made in Uganda, manufactured in Uganda.
Different innovations of science and technology are to be exhibited at Kololo Independence Grounds in a show aimed at displaying what is manufactured in Uganda.
The Ministry of Energy and Mineral Development is in the process of drafting a miscellaneous bill to fulfill the requirements of the East African Crude Oil Pipeline Agreement with other partner states. This follows Tanzania's passing of the same law in August, and now the burden is on to Uganda to do the same to avoid inconveniencing the oil exploration processes. This was revealed by the Minister Ruth Nankabira while updating the country on the progress of oil and gas exploration.
In April this year, 2 states of Uganda and Tanzania signed an agreement of East African Crude Oil Pipeline to enable the process, production and transportation of crude oil within the concerned states. This required all states to have a guiding law for miscellaneous operations. Tanzania passed this law in August this year, leaving Uganda behind, and if Uganda does not expedite the passing of a similar piece of legislation, it might retard the speed of the process.
We have presented it for Parliament, first reading. It has been subjected to the Committee of Natural Resources. The Committee of Natural Resources has interfaced with my team, and we are now waiting for the committee to come up with the report so that we can move the second motion for debate and then processing the bill.
During a media briefing to update on the oil sector, the Minister of Energy and Mineral Development, Ruth Nankabirwa, highlighted some of the hurdles for the smooth and speed operations bedeviling the sector.
The protracted negotiations, given the nature of oil and the projects, causing continuous adjustments to the planned project implementation schedule.
Land acquisition associated with absent landlords, especially in those spotted areas where the construction of the refineries and laying of the pipelines are supposed to pass, it might slow the realization of the set target. Uganda set a target of producing the first fine oil in 2025.
If we had a country where land was belonging to government, like countries I don't want to name, a project is thought about, tomorrow implementation is easy.
The ministry is carrying out several geological surveys for more mineral riches, especially in Karamoja region, to boost the sector.
Uganda is seated on real gold. All this area has richness underneath, which we have to make sure that we exploit.
The sector is expected to uplift the country's GDP by 20%, and the public is urged to set targets of tapping into the available opportunities.
Especially the leaders and communities in these areas to support this very important project. Other environmental and social issues are always taken care of.
In 2006, Uganda discovered the commercial gas reservoirs, and now 15 years down the road, the process of production to the finest is yet to be completed. Abdul Nasili Lubwama, UBC News.
The Soroti factory has technically commissioned its new ready-to-drink mango juice manufacturing line. The installed machines can process about 120 tons of fruits per day.
Uganda Development Corporation, the main investor in the juice processing plant, is carrying out interventions targeting farmers. This will boost the production of good quality mangoes and oranges.
Within our capacity, we're also providing extension services to the farmers. 2, we are working with the Ministry of Agriculture to make sure that the extension officers are helping us improve the quality. And 3, we are also in discussion with the Ministry of Agriculture to have Odina Farm just nearby here, so that we can use it as a demonstration farm for farmers to produce quality fruits.
The technical commissioning at the Soroti Industrial Park was graced by the State Minister for Cooperatives, Fred Gume, who emphasized the need for citizens to appreciate the Bubu policy for rapid industrialization.
When you're in Kampala streets, you see mangoes made in Kenya being sold on the streets. We are saying our own can be even better. It is well sorted. It can now penetrate and go to these other markets. I am happy, and I would like to encourage the Fruit Farmers Cooperative Union that this is an opportunity.
The increased demand for ready-to-drink juices from Teju has necessitated the expansion of the fruit factory. The initiative calls for government support.
The mango line, the new mango line, that takes our production per day from, say, 5 tons to 120 metric tons, which will help our uptake for fruits from farmers. Relatedly to expansion, we are planning to get an expansion for the orange line. We are now able to aseptically fill the orange concentrate and the mango pulp.
We have allocated 10 billion shillings through a supplementary to assist the factory to expand its lines of production. Slowly, their request is for 57 billion, but I'm sure in 3-4 years, we will have done that and will not have any more problem of excess fruits that have not been consumed. And also, the fruits will be consumed and we shall process pulp.
Although the immediate beneficiaries of the facility are supposed to be farmers in Teso sub-region, their capacity to supply all the needed raw materials is limited, particularly mangoes.
What we are producing in terms of, especially for oranges, is what this factory requires. So we don't have any problem with the varieties which we are growing. However, we are having a challenge general as TESO. For the time being, TESO seems not to be able to produce mango, sufficient mango. So much of the mango for the time being this factory will be crushing, may come outside TESO, which is bad. But however, as a union, we are going to work closely with our partners, UDC, Ministry of MAIF, and the research organizations, to see a mechanism whereby we can be...
Currently, UDC is implementing a 10-year strategic plan with an aim of creating jobs in different regions of the country and addressing market failures across board. Introducing this new production line comes with immense business opportunities for both the factory and the farmers. However, for this facility to break even, going forward, it has to expand its production line. Dennis Igor for UBC News at the Soroti Food Factory.
Delays in processing COVID-19 tests at Entebbe International Airport were compromising tourism performance. Business Roundup talked to Amos Wekesa, a private tourism stakeholder, to examine the resultant effects of air travel delays to the tourism sector. Amos Wekesa cautions that delays at Entebbe International Airport could cause thousands of tourists cancelling visits to Uganda should the current inconsistencies persist.
If I leave the US and I have to go through Dubai, spend 12 hours before I fly to your destination, chances of me coming to your country reduced by over 50%. So if you look at countries that have national carriers, have a higher chances of doing business than we do. If you look at Kenya, for example, before COVID, Kenya has probably 6-7 international airports. Jomo Kenyatta Airport was going towards 10 million passengers a year. Moi International Airport, which is in Mombasa, was doing close to 1.6 million people per year. And that is what we can compare ourselves to as a country. We can only compare ourselves to Mombasa. We were doing about, before COVID, about 1.8, going towards 2 million people at our airport. And we only have one airport.
By June 2021, on average, Ministry of Health was testing 4,000 people a day, of whom 1,400 tested positive. However, positive cases have since reduced, despite categorizing high alert countries for mandatory testing.
According to Ministry of Health, two of our biggest challenges in as far as COVID spread is concerned, in terms of countries, were said to be Kenya and Southern Sudan. Now, the biggest numbers of travelers actually pass through our porous borders, and there seems to be no interest in those porous borders. As far as I'm concerned, there's just interest at the airport because they assume that everyone at the airport can pay.
Some of Wekesa's recommendations include improving the internet infrastructure at the airport, while allowing fully vaccinated travelers that tested negative 3 days before traveling into the country.
Number one is that if someone has been vaccinated and someone has done a PCR test 72 hours before they come to the airport, they should be allowed to come into the country. Why? The airline companies have vested interest in making sure that you actually have that PCR before you come to Uganda. And that means you have lesser chances of having problems passing through the airport. Number two, if you have taken one jab and you have done your PCR test 72 hours, what we do recommend is that you do an antigen test, which takes between 10 to 15 minutes, but only if you have done one jab. Now, if you have not done a vaccination and you have done a testing before leaving your country to come to Uganda, you should do a PCR at Entebbe Airport. At the same time, you should be allowed to go to your hotel and results sent to you.
According to the New York Times vaccination tracker, by 1st November 2021, only 3,269,568 Ugandans had been fully vaccinated, which represents 0.9% of Uganda's population. Wadulo Makanud.
Thank you very much.
UBC News in Mutungo. In our corporate news, Uganda Revenue Authority has launched a countrywide exercise to monitor non-issuance of e-receipts and e-invoices and inconsistent supply of goods without digital stamps. The initiative seeks to enhance tax collections through the electronic fiscal receipting and invoicing solution.
Hands over the motor vehicle.
Amidst the ongoing debate on the installation of the digital tracking devices in all vehicles on the Ugandan roads, the President directed the mandate of registering vehicles be returned to the Mother Ministry of Works and Transport. The ministry is tasked to roll call all vehicles on the Ugandan roads and create an updated digital system.
Motor vehicle registration is a very strategic function from both the regulatory and security perspective. You know, some people may not look at the security angle of having the right records of the vehicles in this country. And the vehicles are the ones which transport criminals, move criminals and all that. So it has a security component, like it or not.
General Katumba Amala elaborated on the objectives of the takeover, including security vigilance, among others.
The old logbook, which I'll show in a minute, will be degazetted. The old logbook, which we have been having, the famous green and pink, is with effect from today, is degazetted. This one. This is the old logbook, either that color or the pink. So these are degazetted.
The operations of registering vehicles will remain in the premises of URA, being conducted by the ministry officials. URA will remain with the responsibility of motor vehicle customs clearance and first-time registration.
While under the URA, the headquarter service office has been mandated to perform some of the following key roles. Number one, to collect and account for all non-tax revenue on motor vehicle related matters.
URA has seconded 20 staff to support the Ministry of Works in these new operations by providing technical requirements. Abdul Nasile Lubwama, UBC News.
On the international scene, the Facebook CEO Mark Zuckerberg announced that he was changing the parent company name to Meta. He says that it was more in line with the tech giant's virtual reality vision for the future.
The future, according to Mark Zuckerberg. Virtual worlds and 3D built with his technology. A future in which the social media empire that he created will no longer be called Facebook, but Meta.
Facebook is one of the most used products in the history of the world. It is an iconic social media brand. But right now, our brand is so tightly linked to one product that it can't possibly represent everything that we're doing today, let alone in the future.
But the Facebook brand has also suffered badly. The social network is accused of failing to remove hate speech from its platform and of spreading political strife and misinformation around the world. Facebook employees have gone public claiming that Zuckerberg ignored their warnings. Calls for breaking up Facebook's dominance are getting louder.
You don't develop the competitive products that might protect kids or may do something about vaccine misinformation if they buy everything in sight and our government allows them to do that. The end must come to that.
As Facebook becomes Meta, it seems Zuckerberg is hoping a new name will spell a new beginning for the beleaguered social media giant.
It is about time that Africa starts to see the bigger picture. One of the reasons we are considered a third world continent is because we were preset to be consumers as opposed to producers and entrepreneurs. Think big and start to produce something, and let's change this narrative. Thank you for joining us on this week's episode of the Weekly Business Roundup. My name is Wadulo Mark Arnold. Catch us on the next episode, same place, same time. Good night from I and the team.
Today, we bring to you a talk show discussing the tenets and the imperatives of what is happening today in the country towards realizing a scalable, competitive and sustainable mobility industry value chain in Uganda, producing over 500,000 vehicles with 65% localization by 2030. This show is brought to you by the Secretariat of Science, Technology and Innovation in the Office of the President through the leadership of Honorable Dr. Monica Msenero in partnership with Private Sector Foundation and Uganda Broadcasting Corporation.
Welcome to English in a Minute. It's no surprise that cats like to sleep. A nap is a short period of sleep.
There you are. The movie is about to start.
I'm sorry. I got up at 5 this morning to go swimming, and then I helped a friend move some furniture.
Are you sure you aren't too tired for this movie?
No. I took a cat nap. As long as this movie isn't boring, I'll be fine. What are we seeing anyway?
The Long, Dark Winter. It's a 3-hour foreign movie. I hope you like subtitles.
A cat nap is just a short amount of light sleep during the day. This expression became popular in the 1820s. The person who first used it probably lived with a lot of cats and noticed just how much they sleep. And that's English in a Minute.
Hello, Uganda! After bringing Kigali to its knees on energy shift to Nairobi, nothing brings out the true picture of a football derby like the Mijingo Derby. It's a derby that leaves many desiring for more. And oh yes! This is the time that the question that is frequently asked will be answered. If you own the water, we own the land. And all this will be sorted out on the 11th of November 2021 at the St. Mary's Stadium in Chitende. Join us live on Ubc TV free to air and radios as we bring you action after action as the two bulls fight and we sit back and relax at the comfort of our homes. Ubc TV and radios, your home of sports.
Grow together with one of Uganda's largest companies. Apply for MTN shares for as low as 100,000 Uganda shillings. And when you apply using MTN Mobile Money, you get 10 free extra shares for every 100 shares you apply for. Dial *165*65# or use the MyMTN app to apply now. The terms and conditions of the offer and other important information are set out in the prospectus. For assistance, visit any MTN service center or Stanbic Bank branch countrywide or a licensed broker.
Welcome to the home of our stars. Come on in. We have our movies, gossip, reality, conflict, tulinane comedy. Basirebo baffe bonna live right here. Because no matter where you go, this is the home of our stars.
This year, as Power Magic Mix 3, we are delighted to invite you to see, experience, and celebrate with us. Power Magic, the home of our stars. Multichoice Uganda is regulated by the Uganda Communications Commission.
If you look at all sectors, energy has an influence.
Now, how do we build a model that is sustainable? We're making good investments and we're growing the sector.
Our record under UEP had not been that very good.
World Bank Group has been involved in Uganda electricity sector since the mid-2000s, where it has supported the government in very bold reform.
The last 15 years, we focused on the parameters that were set in our concession that was negotiated at the time. It took the best minds of Uganda to work on it and also the best minds internationally because they had to plan for 20 years ahead.
As remember, we have innovated over the period. We've rolled out cashless. We introduced payment metering, Yaka. As I speak now, the 1.5 million customers are all on Yaka.
The transition has been very, very good because Ugandans who enjoy the power went out and bought shares.
Umeme's massive investment, a robust and functional distribution network that will impact the lives of Uganda's over 40 million citizens.
The vertical you're seeing here from the media fraternity have all determined to support Your Excellency in the fight against corruption. They are ready to call upon and cover the citizens exposing the corrupt. You have young verticals who have a registered NGO called Policy Advocacy, and if you don't mind, representatives of Policy Advocates, please wave to His Excellency the President. They are running a campaign called Speak Proud Uganda, and they want to expose the corrupt. And all these young people of Ubc Excellency have praised their support in your fight against corruption. Your Excellency, allow me to most sincerely thank you for creating time in your extremely busy schedule to personally launch the media campaign that expose the corrupt. And Your Excellency, we are here very expectant that you are going to address the nation about government's untiring efforts to fight corruption. In your persistent fight against corruption, Your Excellency launched the State House Anti-Corruption Unit on the 10th of December 2018, and you just touched with the role of coordinating government anti-corruption efforts and also linking Your Excellency with citizens in the war against corruption. Allow me to report to Your Excellency that your anti-corruption unit was very warmly welcomed by all statutory institutions, particularly the heads of anti-corruption agencies present here. We are collaborating well with them in executing our coordination role. With Your Excellency's constant guidance, the State House Anti-Corruption Unit has yielded reasonable achievements, and for the benefit of the public, permit me to highlight just a few. We also intervened in the theft and swapping of babies, and we've been intervening in large-scale land grabbing, including the one of CISA in Wakiso here, where over 20,000 ordinary citizens were being tortured every night by a group that called themselves the Baranga, the descendants of King Leopold Kabul, who lived in 1700 before the Buganda Agreement. We arraigned them before courts. We also intervened in a land grabbing in Masindi, where 3 villages were under torture by some people who called themselves investors, but we proved that they were not the investors we expect, or those that are respected by our government. A number of land grabbing cases, over 1,800, have been reported, and we have intervened in about 88 cases. Your Excellency, please accept our deepest appreciation for giving me and my team of State House Anti-Corruption Units the great opportunity to serve our nation by making some contribution to the war against corruption. Convening the heads of anti-corruption agencies today reaffirms Your Excellency's personal commitment and stewardship of the fight to rid our country of corruption. We look forward to your continued guidance, and we are ready, and very ready, I insist on that, to re-engineer and re-energize the anti-corruption fight. Your Excellency, permit me to invite the Deputy Inspector General of Government to make his remarks and probably introduce the anti-corruption heads of government. Thank you, Your Excellency.
Allow me, Your Excellency, to thank you for hosting us here at the State House this afternoon to witness the launch of the Citizens Expose the Corrupt campaign. This event is one of the many building blocks that you've put in place to improve the well-being of Ugandans through effective service delivery. Back in 1986, while visiting Makerere University Law School, where we were students, to plant the Kagugube tree, Your Excellency gave a graphic description of the long and painstaking job that lay ahead for the new government to rebuild Uganda, which was in a sorry state at the time. Since that time, Your Excellency has been put in place one brick on top of another to build the framework within which to fight the corruption malaise. First, we identified corruption in the 10-point program as one of the challenges to be addressed by the new government. Secondly, we established the Inspectorate of Government. We then took a series of firm steps to build both an institutional and legal framework to fight corruption, which included the following. You addressed corruption in the corruption fight in the 1999 You moved the Auditor General's office from a department in the Ministry of Finance and made it an independent unit. You dismantled the corruption-riddled Central Tender Board and established the PPEA. You established the Ministry of Ethics and Integrity. You passed a series of anti-corruption laws: the Inspectorate of Government Act, Anti-Corruption Act, Leadership Code Act, Whistleblowers Act, the Anti-Money Laundering Act, Finance Management Act, and many others. In December 2018, you established a State House Anti-Corruption Unit, and in December 2019, you led massive anti-corruption work through the streets of Kampala. 2 weeks ago, in this very room, you saw in the Leadership Code Tribunal. And today, you are launching the Citizens Initiative to expose the corrupt. Your Excellency, sir, in support of this innovation, the heads of the anti-corruption agencies gathered here. Auditor General, who is sitting at your right, the learned Director of Public Prosecutions, Justice Abodo, His Lordship, the Principal Judge, and Mr. Benson, the Executive Director of PPBA, Director of CIID, Mr. Kulo, and Mr. Asubo, Executive Director of Financial Intelligence and the Founding Academy, who is a member of the staff. We are hosted a meeting at the State House Anti-Corruption Unit and recommitted ourselves and the institutions we represent to do the following with a view to strengthening the anti-corruption fight and in the spirit of zero tolerance to corruption. Number one, we identified the need to empower citizens in the fight against corruption by, one, facilitating the disclosure to the public of budget information and key components of government programs. That's subject matter of contracts, duration, particularly the contractor's scope of the contract and standards of contract performance, and encourage citizens to engage in tracking and reporting all corruption matters in their locality, which will allow the citizens to exercise their constitutional mandate under Article 17. How are we to do this? Your Excellency, the heads have agreed to build strategic partnerships with local councils, faith-based organizations, civil society, local media platforms, community-based organizations as a vehicle to dissemination of information regarding government programs in their area. We learned from the faith-based organization that every week, pre-COVID, Your Excellency, that they reach 23 million people starting Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. The second initiative, Your Excellency, is learning from the innovation we made. We too have undertaken to create and operationalize rapid response units in each of the anti-corruption agencies, similar to the State House Anti-Corruption Unit. This will help us expedite investigation and prosecution of high-impact cases that cannot wait. Number 3 is to fully operationalize the climate charters across government agencies to ensure that citizen concerns are addressed at source in a timely manner and to hold responsible officers accountable for non-compliance with service standards and to make them answerable for malfeasance or inaction. We believe that this will spark more effective supervision and eliminate backlog which sits in many of our agencies, which we also think will free up time to address the important matters in the country. Number 4 is to strengthen the internal Auditor General's function, which is to identify risks in ministries, departments, and agencies, and local governments, and strengthen systems, thereby narrowing opportunities for corruption. The 5th is to leverage technology and enhance automation in order to limit human interface, which we think breeds corruption incidents. This will do, in fact, it has started that starting 2021 financial year, an electronic public procurement system has been operationalized. This is intended, Your Excellency, to eliminate power brokers and agents that milk the unsuspecting bidders, both local and foreign, and thereby increase the cost of business. Second, the Inspectorate of Government has put in place the Inspectorate of Government Case Management System, CMS, which gives visibility of the progress of an investigation to a supervisor. The State House Anti-Corruption Unit runs a very effective call center which receives and accommodates as well as classifies high volumes of complaints and helps track the progress in real time. And today we have the Expose the Corrupt campaign, which is being launched and we believe will be primarily driven through technology and the phone. The 6th is to strengthen and empower district and regional structures to enable them deal decisively with corruption at source in a timely fashion. Lastly, Your Excellency, is to strengthen the coordination and cooperation between anti-corruption agencies and draw on areas of expertise which each agency has in the management of high-impact cases in order to improve efficiency of investigation and prosecution of corruption cases. We therefore urge the public to embrace this initiative and expose the corrupt so swift and firm action can be taken. With these remarks, allow me, Your Excellency, to invite the learned Principal Judge to invite you to address this meeting and launch the Expose the Corrupt campaign. For God and my country, thank you very much for listening.
Your Excellency, before you is what I can call a chain-linked institutional system. We have the PPDA, much of the corruption in this country, if you look at the reports, you'll find that they are linked to procurement. Because I think procurement takes the biggest share of government expenditure. Now, if there is misprocurement or malfeasance in procurement, then the Auditor General comes in to investigate. When the Auditor General investigates in terms of auditing, If he comes up with an audit report, CID, if there are any faults, CID comes in to investigate. If they investigate, they do it together with the Director of Public Prosecutions. Of course, sometimes the IGG also does the same role as the Director of Public Prosecutions in terms of investigating these matters. And finally, the matters come to us for arbitration. We are neutral arbiters. Corruption today is actually becoming very sophisticated. It is becoming IP-based and it is syndicated. You'll find one transaction can involve a government agency, an official government agency. It can involve Bank of Uganda. It can involve Ministry of Finance in terms of wiring resources. It can involve individuals. It can involve banks. It's so sophisticated. That calls for more rigorous training, especially in terms of IP-related systems. I think when we do that, then we are good to go. On our part as courts, when I came in as principal judge, I increased the number of judges from 2 to 3. Previously, we have been having 2 judges in the anti-corruption court. I increased them to 3. The objective was to ensure that matters to do with corruption are expeditiously handled. Of course, the trials within the court that involve corruption are also very different. You find very huge Auditor General reports. The lawyers sometimes don't even understand those reports. Many lawyers don't know mathematics. So when the Auditor General comes up with a report with all those figures and the balance sheets, they don't even understand it. So prosecution becomes a little bit hard. And because of that, sometimes the trials take long. But I have tried my level best, increase the number of judges, increase resources. I've tried to allocate more resources to the anti-corruption court. And I hope by doing that, I should be able to solve the problem of corruption on the court side. But of course, it all depends on how well the investigations are done. If you bring garbage in, we can't do much. That means that the office of the DPP, the Director CID, must do a thorough job for us to be able to rid this country of corruption. And it is my sincere honor, Your Excellency, to invite you to address the gathering.
Corruption is first and foremost ideological. This is because the corrupt don't know how to be prosperous sustainably. They want to be prosperous, but they don't look for prosperity in a sustainable way. They want to be rich at the expense of society. They are parasites. They miscalculate and think that if you are a parasite, you can be prosperous. They however don't know